If you're already 70 years old, there's something happening in your life right now that no doctor will ever diagnose and no medication will ever cure. We live in a time when seniors are told to focus on their diet, their pills, their walking, their checkups. Sounds responsible, right? But here's what worries me. Too many older adults are slowly dying from something that has nothing to do with their health, and they don't even know it. Think about these questions for a moment. Do you feel exhausted after certain phone calls, even when nothing seems wrong? Does your chest tighten when you see a specific name appear on your screen? Do you go to bed at night replaying conversations and feeling smaller than you did that morning? Have you started canceling plans, not because you're tired, but because you can't face certain people anymore? Sound familiar? We've been told our whole lives that family is everything, that we should keep the peace at any cost, that walking away from someone we love is selfish or cruel. But here's the shocking truth. Once you turn 70, those old rules will quietly destroy you. A study from the American Heart Association revealed something that most seniors have never heard. Chronic interpersonal stress in adults over 70 raises the risk of heart attack by 34% and accelerates cognitive decline by nearly 40%. That's not a small number. That's the difference between dying confused at 75 and living clear-headed until 90. And the most disturbing part? Researchers found that 8 out of 10 older adults have at least one of these 5 people in their inner circle right now, and most of the time, that person shares their last name. Today, I'm going to reveal the 5 kinds of people you must remove from your life once you turn 70. Even when they are family, even when you raise them, even when walking away breaks something inside you. These are not strangers. These are often the people closest to you. And the number one person on this list is the one almost nobody has the courage to walk away from, even though they are doing the deepest damage of all. By the end of this video, you will recognize at least one of them sitting in your own family, and you will finally understand why your body has been telling you something for years. But here's the good news. Once you can name these 5 people, you can finally protect the years you have left. So today, I'll walk you through all 5 one by one in the order of how much damage they cause. Like and subscribe. Your support helps us keep making these videos for older adults who deserve the truth. Now let's begin with person number 5. Person number 5, the chronic critic. Once you turn 70, the chronic critic in your life stops being annoying and starts being dangerous. And I don't mean someone who occasionally gives you honest feedback. I mean a person who has built their entire relationship with you around finding what's wrong. Their comments come disguised as concern, as advice, as experience. But the result is always the same. You begin to doubt every choice you make in your own home, in your own life, with your own time. Margaret Sullivan is 74 years old and lives in Cleveland. She told me that every Sunday her daughter would visit for 2 hours, and within those 2 hours she would find something to comment on. The way Margaret had arranged her living room, the color of the new curtains, the food in the refrigerator, the clothes hanging in the closet, none of it cruel on the surface. But by Sunday evening, Margaret said she would sit alone in her kitchen and quietly cry, wondering when she had become a woman who couldn't even pick her own curtains. Research from the Journal of Gerontology shows that older adults exposed to consistent verbal criticism experience a 28% higher rate of depression and a measurable drop in self-confidence within just 6 months. The damage of a constant critic is not loud, it's slow. It reshapes how you see yourself over time. You stop trusting your own judgment. You start asking permission for decisions you have every right to make. You begin shrinking inside your own life. And here's what makes it worse. Many critics genuinely believe they're being helpful. They think their experience entitles them to correct yours. They confuse love with control. But love at our age does not sound like correction. Love sounds like respect. So what can you do? First, stop defending every choice. When the critic comments on your curtains, simply say, "I like them," and move on. No explanation, no justification. Your home is not on trial. Second, shorten the visits. If 2 hours leaves you drained, make it 45 minutes. You don't owe anyone access to your peace. Third, change the topic firmly. When the criticism starts, redirect the conversation once. If it returns, end the visit politely. Fourth, and this is the hardest one, accept that some people will never stop. And when that's the case, you must reduce contact, even if they share your last name. Margaret started something simple. She began meeting her daughter at a coffee shop instead of inviting her into her home. The criticism dropped immediately because her daughter no longer had access to her living room, her kitchen, her closet. Margaret told me, "I love her more now that I see her less." That's a sentence I've heard from a lot of people in their 70s, and I want you to remember it. But while the chronic critic damages your confidence, the next person on this list damages something even more important: your sense of being seen. Person number 4, the self-absorbed talker. Once you turn 70, the self-absorbed talker in your life becomes harder to tolerate because you finally realize how much time they've already taken from you. This is the person who never asks how you're doing, or if they do ask, they don't actually wait for the answer. Every conversation circles back to them, their problems, their stories, their drama, their opinions. You sit there listening, nodding, supporting, and slowly disappearing inside your own relationship. Harold Bennett is 76 years old and lives in Tampa. He told me about his older brother, a man he had loved his entire life, who would call him 3 times a week and talk for an hour each time. Harold would hang up the phone realizing he hadn't said more than 10 sentences in the entire conversation. One afternoon, Harold tried something. He didn't volunteer any information. He waited for his brother to ask one single question about his life. The phone call lasted 8 minutes. Not one question came. Harold sat down on his couch afterward and cried because he realized his brother had not actually known him for years. A study from the University of Michigan found that older adults who feel unheard in their primary relationships have a 41% higher rate of loneliness, even when they are surrounded by family. Loneliness, as you may know, is now considered as dangerous to your health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. So when someone you love refuses to truly listen to you, they are not just hurting your feelings, they are shortening your life. And here's what's really happening inside this dynamic. The self-absorbed talker is not necessarily a bad person. Often they are simply unaware. They have spent so many decades being the loud one in the family, the one who narrates, the one who entertains, that they no longer know how to listen. And by the time you reach 70, you no longer have the years to spare for one-sided love. So what can you do? First, stop filling the silence. When the self-absorbed talker pauses, don't rush to ask them another question about themselves. Let the silence sit there. Many people will eventually feel uncomfortable and finally turn the conversation toward you. Second, when you do speak, finish your sentences. If they interrupt, calmly say, "Let me finish my thought," and keep going. This feels uncomfortable at first because most older people were raised to be polite, but politeness should never cost you your voice. Third, limit your phone calls. If an hour leaves you drained, take the call for 20 minutes. Fourth, find new people who do ask about you. Join a senior center, a church group, a book club. Sometimes the cure for being unheard is not fixing the old relationship, it's building a new one. Harold started attending a Tuesday morning breakfast group at his local diner. 6 retired men sit around a table and actually ask each other questions. Harold told me, "I feel more known by those men after 6 months than I felt by my brother in 60 years. That's the power of being heard. But there's someone even more harmful than the talker, and you may already have one of them living in your home. Person number 3, the permanent burden. Once you turn 70, the permanent burden in your life is not just inconvenient. It is dangerous to your health, your savings, and your final years. I'm talking about the grown adult who refuses to grow up, the relative who shows up with a suitcase and never quite leaves, the son, daughter, niece, or nephew who treats your home like a hotel and your retirement savings like an ATM. Many older people fall into this trap because of a single word: temporary. The visit was supposed to be temporary. The loan was supposed to be temporary. The favor was supposed to be temporary. But weeks turn into months, and months turn into years. And suddenly you find yourself spending the last good decade of your life cleaning up after a person who has no intention of ever cleaning up after themselves. Donald Foster is 73 years old and lives in Phoenix. His grandson asked to stay with him for 1 month after losing his apartment. 18 months later, the grandson was still there. The dishes piled up. The grocery bill doubled. The electric bill tripled because the young man kept the air conditioning at 65 degrees day and night. Donald told me he started waking up at 5 a.m. just to have one peaceful hour in his own house before his grandson woke up at noon. One afternoon, Donald came home from a doctor appointment and found his grandson asleep on the couch with empty beer cans on the coffee table. Donald had just been told his blood pressure was dangerously high. He stood there in his own living room and asked himself a question that I want you to ask yourself today. Why am I spending the final chapter of my life carrying a grown man who refuses to carry himself? Research from AARP shows that older adults financially supporting an adult relative are 52% more likely to delay their own medical care and 38% more likely to develop stress-related health conditions, including hypertension, insomnia, and depression. Helping family used to be a virtue. After 70, it can become a slow form of self-destruction. So what can you do? First, understand that helping someone in a crisis is different from enabling someone in a pattern. A crisis has an end date, a pattern does not. Second, set a clear deadline. If a relative needs to stay with you, write down the date they will leave and stick to it. Verbal promises mean nothing. Third, stop being the safety net. If you keep rescuing someone from every consequence, they will never learn to stand on their own feet, and you will spend your remaining years exhausted. Fourth, and this is the hardest one, accept that saying no to a family member is not cruelty, it is survival. You are not obligated to set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. Donald sat his grandson down one evening and gave him 30 days to find a place. There was anger, there were tears, there were accusations, but Donald held firm. 6 weeks later, his grandson was gone, working a steady job and slowly rebuilding his life. Donald told me his blood pressure dropped 20 points in 2 months. 2 months, that's how much that one person was costing him. But as draining as a permanent burden is, the next person on this list is far more dangerous because their damage is invisible. Person number 2, the emotional manipulator. Once you turn 70, the emotional manipulator in your life is no longer just frustrating. They are slowly killing you. And the cruelest part is that you may not even recognize what they're doing, because manipulation does not arrive loudly. It arrives with urgency, with tears, with guilt, with what feels like love. The emotional manipulator is the person who always has a crisis. Every phone call is an emergency. Every request feels like a final chance. If you hesitate, the tone shifts. Suddenly, you're the bad parent, the cold sibling, the ungrateful friend. You feel pressure rising in your chest. You say yes just to make the discomfort stop. And then a week later, the next emergency arrives. Helen Roberts is 77 years old and lives in Charleston. Her daughter called her almost every week with a new crisis. A car broke down, a bill was overdue, a boyfriend left, a boss was unfair. And each time, Helen would send money. $500 here, $1,000 there, $2,000 for an emergency that turned out to not be an emergency at all. Over 4 years, Helen estimated she had given her daughter close to $40,000, money that had been carefully saved for Helen's own future. When Helen finally tried to say no, her daughter accused her of never having loved her. Helen stayed awake that entire night, crying, wondering if perhaps her daughter was right. That is the signature move of an emotional manipulator. They make you doubt your own goodness. A study from the American Psychological Association found that older adults in manipulative relationships show measurable changes in brain chemistry, including elevated cortisol levels that mirror the patterns seen in trauma victims. Your body is literally being damaged every time you receive one of those phone calls. The exhaustion you feel after speaking to a manipulator is not in your head, it is in your bloodstream. So, what can you do? First, learn to pause. When a manipulator presents an emergency, do not respond immediately. Say, "Let me think about it and I'll call you back tomorrow." That single sentence breaks the cycle of urgency that manipulators depend on. Second, stop over-explaining. You do not owe a long justification for every no. "I can't help with that this time" is a complete sentence. Third, separate love from rescue. You can love someone deeply and still refuse to bail them out. Fourth, protect your finances. Set a clear monthly limit on what you give. When the limit is reached, the answer is no, regardless of the story. Fifth, talk to a trusted friend, a counselor, or a financial advisor about what's happening. Manipulators thrive in secrecy. Daylight weakens them. Helen started something simple. She stopped answering the phone on the first ring. She let calls go to voicemail. She gave herself 24 hours before responding to any request for money. Within 6 months, the emergencies dropped by 80% because most of them were never real emergencies. They were just patterns waiting for a quick yes. But there is one more person on this list, and this one might surprise you because they may not look harmful at all. Person number 1, the ungrateful receiver. Once you turn 70, the most dangerous person in your life is the one who has spent decades receiving your love, your time, your money, your sacrifices, and has never once truly thanked you. The ungrateful receiver does not yell, does not manipulate, does not criticize loudly. They simply take and take and take, and after enough years, you begin to feel emotionally invisible inside your own family. This is the number 1 person you must remove, because chronic ingratitude does something that the others do not. It poisons the part of you that gives. It turns your generosity into resentment. It makes you cynical about love itself. And once that happens, the damage spreads to every other relationship you have. Eleanor Hartman is 79 years old and lives in Sacramento. Every Sunday for 30 years, she cooked a full dinner for her 3 children and their families. 11 people at the table. She did the shopping. She did the cooking. She did the cleaning. She did it with love. But somewhere around her 75th birthday, she realized something painful. In 30 years, not one of her children had ever said thank you in a meaningful way. They arrived, they ate, they left. They expected the next Sunday to look exactly the same. One Sunday, Eleanor served a meal that had taken her 7 hours to prepare. Her oldest son took 2 bites, looked up and said, "The chicken is a little dry, Mom." Then he went back to his phone. Eleanor stood up that night after everyone had left, looked at the kitchen full of dirty dishes, and made a decision. The next Sunday, she didn't cook. She didn't call. She didn't apologize. She drove to a small restaurant downtown and ate alone, slowly, peacefully. Her children called confused. They were angry, they were hurt, they demanded an explanation. And Eleanor gave them one sentence: "I have decided to stop pouring love into a cup that has a hole in the bottom." Gratitude, as I've come to believe, is emotional oxygen. Human beings need to feel appreciated the way plants need sunlight, especially older people, because so many of us already feel discarded by society. Research from the University of California found that older adults who feel appreciated by their families live an average of 7 years longer than those who feel taken for granted. 7 years, that is the cost of being around ungrateful people. 7 years of your life. So what can you do? First, stop giving automatically. Make every act of generosity a conscious choice, not a default. Second, watch the response. When you give, notice whether the receiver acknowledges it. A real thank you is specific. It mentions what you did. It looks you in the eye. If you never receive that, the relationship needs to change. Third, redirect your generosity. There are people in this world who would treasure even a fraction of what you give. Volunteer at a hospital. Mentor a young person. Help a neighbor who actually appreciates kindness. Your love is too valuable to waste on someone who treats it like a faucet that never turns off. Fourth, accept that some of the people you raised may never become the adults you hoped they would be. That grief is real, but it does not entitle them to keep draining you. Eleanor told me something I will never forget. She said, "I spent 30 years being a mother to people who treated me like a service. I have decided to spend my remaining years being a woman again. Just a woman, with her own coffee, her own books, her own quiet Sundays." That is what reclaiming your final years looks like. When you are young, you think life is about achievement, building a career, raising children, saving money, chasing goals. But once you turn 70, the definition of a good life changes completely. Peace becomes wealth. Calm mornings become luxury. A quiet afternoon becomes more valuable than any award you ever received. And the people around you matter more than almost anything else, because they either protect your spirit or slowly drain it. I am not asking you to hate the people on this list. I am not asking you to cut them off in anger. I am asking you to finally see them clearly. The chronic critic, the self-absorbed talker, the permanent burden, the emotional manipulator, the ungrateful receiver. These 5 people do not need to be punished. They simply need to be moved further from the center of your life. Some to the edges, some out entirely. You get to decide. Because here is the truth that took me decades to understand. Compassion does not require unlimited access. You can love someone from a distance. You can forgive someone without inviting them back into your living room. You can wish someone well without giving them another piece of your time. And at our age, that distance is not cruelty. It is wisdom. If somebody in your life consistently leaves you anxious, exhausted, guilty, invisible, or emotionally small, please do not ignore those feelings anymore. Your body is telling you something your heart already knows. Peace is not optional after 70. Peace is medicine. Peace is what allows you to wake up in the morning and feel grateful to be alive. So protect your remaining years. Protect your heart. Protect the quiet little joys that still make life beautiful. And if nobody has told you this lately, let me say it now. You are still allowed to choose yourself. You earned that right a long time ago. If this video opened your eyes to someone in your own life, please share it with another senior who needs to hear it. Leave a comment telling us which of the 5 people surprised you the most. And subscribe so you don't miss our next video. Thanks for watching. Remember, aging may be inevitable, but suffering through it because of the wrong people in your life is a choice. And after 70, you finally have the right to make a different one.